I love these people. They're part of my family.
Now, back to Steiny and Guru on 95.7 The Game.
It's the crossover, Steiny and Guru, along with...
Wait, what?
Oh, boy.
Wait.
All right, Steiny, along with Daryl the Guru Johnson.
Got him!
Mark Willard, Dan Dibley.
One person got that joke, and he's in the next room. It's Evan. The one person got the joke that we all talked at the same time.
I mean...
Sorry, listeners. Sometimes
I said it before we went to break
first.
the boss wasn't happy.
Well, and I got to take umbrage with, and I love Joe Spadoni, but Bob Fitz talking about Steph and I are close friends, and, we golf all the time, and I got no whoop. I mean, that should have been a whoop fest
I think the
on
button
Bobby
broke.
Fitz.
We used it so much during the interview. He was great.
He was great, but when he came out, he's like, well, Steph and I are close, and he's actually ahead of me now, 4 kids to 3, and we golf all the time. Whoop, 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 whoop.
He was on. I love it.
Yeah, he was on one.
would have gotten another whoop if he had said where they golf together.
Well, everywhere.
Well, the main place, though.
Is it still the CC?
I don't hear them call it that there. I've been there once, but I never heard anyone say that while I was there. But maybe. Is it?
The only golf course I've ever been to where you go into the bar at the turn, Goo, after 9 holes, you go get a drink.
2.
Little pit stop.
Viagra on the bar.
Wow.
Viagra.
Just in case.
That's
just
hard.
in case.
You don't know what you're going to need on a given day.
Just chew it and do it.
That's why I leave my golf clubs in the trunk. You never know when a game's going to break out.
True.
I used to keep a basketball in my trunk for the same reason.
I love that.
But what Bob did say that I found profound, we were talking about the Giants. Steiny came in. He was like, "Ooh, it just don't feel like they're hitting." I was like, "What we did with you and Steiny, Fraser Ali," and we were talking about the numbers are there in regard to the people are coming out, but he don't feel it. And Fitz was just talking about the Giants are kind of faceless in regard to that. You know, those names, not just name, those Crawford, Posey, Belt. We've talked about this. And I thought to myself, you know what? That's a hell of a point. But I told Steiny, and I'd have to ask him, but I'm Elliot Ramos. I'm drunk right now. And I'm riding the wave. And maybe it'll continue, but how can you not ride the wave of what we're seeing from Ramos? I'll just leave that. That's appointment TV right now.
The only thing I've said to Dibs, and when our show coined Vamos Ramos, you're welcome NBC Sports Bay Area, you're welcome San Francisco Giants. Not that it was that hard to think of, but we did say it first. Anyway, what I keep saying to Dibs about Vamos Ramos is, do you notice how much louder it is with some of the other players when you sort of get like differing opinions? Matos right now, I'm still getting more texts about Matos than I am about Ramos because Matos went to the minors and he's crushing it down there.
Right. You almost want somebody to turn an ankle.
He doesn't make outs in Sacramento, and I know that's going to bother some people, but what bothers me is that it is our echo chamber of sports media where we're only going to get excited about it if somebody's angry about something. Elliot Ramos is being the guy that you're all asking for the Giants to have.
And some.
A homegrown outfielder who comes up and goes bananas and sustains.
Man.
And he's here and he's doing it, and everyone's like, so where's Matos? I'm like, he's in center field. His name's Ramos. Matos will be back. Where's the excitement for Ramos?
It's here.
I'm with you.
I got it.
I'm with you. It's too quiet.
It's incredible right now, man.
I'm glad you said it because I said essentially the same thing earlier in the show, but now he agrees.
Well, it's brilliant when I say it.
Yeah.
It is.
Come on, Steiny.
What I heard you say, I want you to say to Mark's face because then we can maybe get back to Ali Frazier. About Logan Webb. What'd you say about Logan
boring?
Webb? Point it that way.
He's boring?
I don't think that's a hot thing.
I don't think he's boring at all.
Yeah.
He's
Well, neither-
effective.
He pitches one every
Neither do
5
I.
days.
He's got great personality.
Okay. Here's
Steiny was dropping B-bombs.
That's fine.
Can I get the
Of
Ramos
course,
thing
man,
on
of
real
course.
quick?
Yeah.
I said essentially the same thing. I'm like, okay, Ramos. Like, it was all Luciano.
yes.
Right. So Ramos comes up, and he's had a hell of a start. I don't know if he's a phenom.
Gotcha.
And what did I say? Like, why doesn't it seem good enough? This is the guy right now. He could be it. It doesn't feel like it.
To me, it does. But that's why I asked him, what are you
But
looking
now that
for?
Willard said, yeah, you might be right.
He took it somewhere else about people are still focused on who's not up as opposed to what we're watching on who's up. And Ramos, and then last night he's giving you that energy, barking like, oh my God. Dude. Oh, Dibs, I know it's early, but boy, it looks good.
His OPS is 1233 in June.
Dude.
And this is not June 3rd now. We're
All-Star.
June 18th.
He should be on the All-Star team.
7 home runs.
And Rookie of the Year?
I mean,
I know Paul Scheme, but
two guys?
Two guys what?
On the All-Star team?
Who would be there?
Who else?
Logan Webb's having a real good year.
Logan Webb, but Logan probably suffers from what you said.
yeah.
It doesn't pop, and his record, even though he's got an ERA in the 2s every year, his record's like 4 and 6.
What is he right now?
What about Frisbee guy?
Like 6 and
Frisbee's
5?
guy's making
Rodgers?
a good case.
Hard to make it as a 7th inning guy, kind of a thing.
I guess, unless
You know
you're
what I mean?
really, really good.
You have to have a stat that pops.
Well,
So if you
and
don't
that's
have
where
saves.
and that's where
You know?
Bob Melvin just cost Duvall a possible All-Star appearance because he put him in that meaningless game and his ERA went from 3.5 to 4.8. Now he can't make it.
You could do that if you want.
When Brooks dropped that pop-up, Dibs Willard, share with me when it was 6-3 what you really thought about,
Well,
oh my God.
okay,
Did
so-
that really just happen?
We'll get to this later.
Okay.
But I was already completely livid at the baseball game because of some of the stupidest umpiring aspects
It's out of control.
that have ever happened. And I mean that way deeper than someone who missed balls and strikes. And
Only 27 of them.
Only 27 of them. We're going to get into it. By the way, Logan Webb is 6 and 5. He's 6 and 5.
What?
Yeah. So I was already really upset. And then that happens.
Oh, man.
And I know it gets everybody activated. Here's something that the Giants would love to admit to everybody you can't say publicly. They've got a bunch of people on their roster at times this year who are not major league players. Right? They do. They don't want to. They have really been hit by the injury bug. Do you want to fire on organizational depth when that happens? You can. You can. They would probably respond by saying, yo, we're hanging in there around 500 with some of our biggest names out. More than half the pitching staff is out, and we're hanging in there. Oh, but you're boring. Okay, sure. Yeah, Trent Brooks not a big leaguer. Not a big league player.
Wow.
Forget the pop-ups. His at-bats were disgusting last night in huge moments. That's what happens when everybody gets hurt. You know? So I get that, and that's frustrating. But the boring thing, I sometimes think Giants fans, a lot of us, we get chicken or the egg mixed up because there's absolutely nothing about Buster Posey, Brandon Belt, or Brandon Crawford that's exciting. Nothing. Nothing at all. Why were they exciting? Because they won World Series. So I feel that way about some of these guys too. If Logan Webb does more of what he did in Game 1 against the Dodgers in 2021.
Filthy.
If you've got a few more of those moments and the Giants succeed in the playoffs behind Logan Webb, he'll get real exciting real fast. I know he's not Tim Lincecum, but, Matt Cain wasn't really an exciting player either until he threw a perfect game, until they started winning World Series.
I mean, to me, you were right. On the whole, those three guys weren't. But then you sprinkle in Sandoval, who had a connection. You sprinkle
Lincecum.
even
sure.
Wilson, you said.
Can't even remember the Milkmaids. Remember the
Melky Cabrera.
Melky Cabrera.
Yeah. Well, he got popped.
And I know. I get it all. But Lincecum was. We probably won't see a pitcher that creates that much excitement as Lincecum in our lifetime.
Probably.
Bumgarner, in his own way, was red ass, but he was ours. So he made a connection with the fans. So they had other guys to me that were, I'm not saying, and Brian Wilson was another one. So yeah, their core, but they had like 8 or 9 guys every year that were knocking on the door. The hardest thing to do is ask a casual fan, well, how many titles was Buster in on, Crawford in on, Belt in on, Sandoval in on? Because it's like 2, 3, I think there's only one guy with 3, right?
3.
Yeah.
Buster.
That's it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of what I'm saying.
And then there were varying roles.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like Lincecum would be like a star in 2010, and then it's like, is he still on the team in 2012? I can't remember. Yeah. Matt Cain, same thing. I mean, Bumgarner was obviously a huge part of all 3.
Yep.
That's right. He was.
Yeah, he was a 21-year-old kid in 2010 and shoved in Game 4 to give him a 3-1 lead in Texas.
All right, so Crawford wasn't on the 10 team.
No.
Brandon Belt wasn't on the 10 team.
Correct.
Cody Ross.
I don't think Pablo was on the 2010 team.
And
I don't think so either.
And Pablo had a varying role in one of the 2 World Series they won.
No doubt.
Oh, man.
Remember they kicked him, they basically shoved him to the bench.
I thought
they gave third base to somebody else.
For whatever reason, I thought Posey
he was on 2010 exactly.
Who?
Pablo was 2010.
See, I thought for some reason Posey was the only guy who was on all 3. Bumgarner was definitely on the 10 team.
No, but Pablo. Let's see. Okay,
he played 152 games.
No, Posey.
No.
Posey. I thought he was the only guy on all 3.
But obviously, there was the Detroit year where he hit the 3 home runs.
No doubt.
So
2 off early.
Mm-hmm. But I think it was it 2014 that he couldn't even stay in?
Somebody saying Pablo was on the 2010 team but got benched. I kind of remember that.
Yeah, he got benched, and then he caught 2014. He caught the.
But they're saying
right?
Pablo has 3 rings.
Yeah, Pablo was on all 3 teams, but yes, he got benched in one of them.
Gotcha.
And then was MVP in another one.
To your point, though, if you look at this team and what Farhan is hoping for is that Matos and Ramos and Bailey and Webb and all the rest of them, Doval, they hope that is the core that we all remember 20 years from now as the core that was the young guys who were all homegrown, who came up and did something.
Exactly. I mean, it's actually pretty impressive, the names you can rip through on those teams.
Yeah.
And we're just naming the big boys. We haven't Michael Morse, Pat Burrell, You're listening to 95.7 The Game, KGMZ FM and HD1 San Francisco. Always live on the free Odyssey app. Twitch and YouTube powered by First NorCal Credit Union. Is Guru's daughter, Mia.
Oh, boy.
Who went to high school
yes,
with
Mom is Mia's his wife. Yeah.
Know your partner, Day.
3, 2, and Lincecum was on all 3 as well.
Yeah, he was on all 3, but was not a...
Yes, as we're continuing to clean up on Isle Steiny, we're trying to, that's a throwback reference to, we used to do cleanup on Isle Goo, not Isle 2, but occasionally there'd be mistakes made.
How many weeks did we go?
51 weeks.
How many
50
mistakes?
Remote, 1 week in person.
Okay.
And then Captain Save a Station showed up.
No doubt.
And I got moved to middays and then moved to the afternoon.
Well, you've been here quietly how long?
About 3.
We're coming up on 3.
Yeah.
Wow, workversary. Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah. Getting there.
Funny you mentioned that because my work anniversary is actually my first hire date, not my second hire date.
That's
so
amazing.
It's always a little bit funky. And I wish that they would acknowledge my fire anniversary date, which we just went past the 10-year.
You're welcome to. Acknowledge it.
I do every year.
Yeah.
And Whitey hates it. And Kreidler doesn't respond to my text anymore. Anyway, Steiny, go ahead.
Yeah, you were saying.
Yep.
I actually wasn't.
No, yeah, you were.
You were saying something about Goo and
Can
Mia.
Milan claim she's from the Bay because nobody apparently in Greensboro, North Carolina has ever heard of Sacramento. So she says the Bay, even though she went to high school in Sacramento. Guru's fortunate enough.
This came up Father's Day dinner.
He's got 2 residences.
He's got 2 residences. So city of birth was?
Sacramento.
And grew up?
Sacramento.
And went to school in?
Sacramento.
She's from Northern California.
But her daddy is from the Bay.
She's from Northern California,
dude. The wife was hurt. She said this to my nieces who were the college kids were having a conversation.
Right.
And she goes, out of nowhere, everybody's listening. Yeah, I just say I'm from the Bay. Nobody knows where Sacramento is. Exactly. I jumped up like, you can use it. But now I'm getting some blowback on Miss Milan.
No blowback, and it's the 3,000-mile rule. When you're that far away, you can say that. Now, if somebody wants to follow up where in the Bay, then she can say, well, I'm actually from Sacramento.
I told her
Much like Mark's son, when he goes off to college at the end of next year, if he goes to a faraway place and they say, where are you from? He can say San Francisco. Even though he lives about 18 miles away.
He also grew up, though, in Southern California.
Right.
He didn't move here until he was 12 years old.
So he can say he's from L.A., even though I don't think you lived in L.A. proper.
Not in proper, no.
Right.
No.
Imperial Valley?
What's that?
Imperial Valley?
No,
He was on the west side, dude.
Oh,
You think
yeah.
Mark's going to be out there in
I do love the
River
Imperial
Tucky?
Palace back in the Vegas days.
Oh, you're
but
bringing
anyway,
me back,
I know.
dude. The IP. I went on some
I was
late
proud,
night
though.
runs
You
at
can
the
use
IP.
it. Your daddy from the 510,
Yeah,
baby.
like, I mean, you go to North Carolina, I think you can just say I'm from California. Like, it's all the same to them.
What?
If it said somebody would pull her card where, then that's what you have to break out the Union City, the Union.
Yeah, you can follow up and like if she says, I'm from Sacramento and they say, well, that's not the Bay Area, then she can just say, look, I'm trying to make it conversational.
Yeah.
We're not going to try and be geographically specific.
Bottom line is if someone's asking that many questions, he's trying to pick her up and
that's
she
right.
should leave.
boy.
So for
That's right.
Steiny,
That's too
always
many
the question
questions.
was, where are you from? And it's Philly. Unless, somebody's like, hey,
Look
where
at
in
him.
Philly? And then Steiny would say, well, actually, it's Reading or Reading for those of you who don't know, which is,
It's Reading.
you're not getting the bit.
No,
The
the
point
listener
is-
doesn't get that bit.
The bit is out here, we think it's reading because
Exactly.
it's spelled
and
like
now they continue
reading.
to.
Reading is in California.
They're
Reading
both
is in
Reading.
Pennsylvania.
And now you've confused everybody.
Now you've
and
made
so
me
we'll
angry.
Go, and we'll go back to people calling it the wrong.
How do they spell Reading, California? Do you
With
know?
2 Ds.
Correct,
Wow.
because that's how you pronounce Reading.
Okay.
Out in Pennsylvania, when you have Reading, that is what we all learned to do
Did
in
you ever play
kindergarten.
Monopoly?
Reading.
I did.
Did you ever land on one of the railroads?
Reading
Often.
Railroad.
What did you
Exactly.
call it? What did you?
Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania. There was
B&O.
also
boy,
B&O.
B&O, which is weird. That's a weird
I know.
name for a railroad.
There was
what was the other one? I can't remember. What were the names?
take a ride on the.
B&O.
No, it was on that other train.
Reading.
Nobody
No.
called it reading.
I think we did call Reading.
Man.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
What was your piece in Monopoly? What was your
I
piece?
rotated. I did rotate.
You know
That's
what the
terrible.
problem with that argument is?
We had family assigned pieces.
The word, and this is actually
dad
the
was
argument you guys
weird.
are having, even though it's not an argument, is the English language's fault. Because the word
blame
READ
Britain.
is both read and read. It's both.
You sounded
And
like
it's-
Kapler there.
It's both.
Like,
it's stupid that we didn't come up with a different way to spell.
What
the
was your
past
Monopoly
tense.
piece, Mark? Did you ever play Monopoly, or is that
Yeah.
game too
No.
too old for you?
I like the train, and then if the train was taken, I like the little dog.
Okay.
Yeah.
that little
Thimble
terrier.
Yeah, a little
Thimble.
terrier.
He was a terrier.
I
My
was a
brother
thimble
Mike was
guy.
the thimble. Doug was the dog, and it feels a little like gender specific that Gail was the iron.
Wow.
Feels
There you
wrong.
go.
And I was always the race car, or I wouldn't play.
Yeah, that's probably what I was when I was a little kid.
Yeah.
What are we missing?
I stuck with
Statue of Liberty?
Oh yeah.
I think we're
look at
missing
you.
Statue of Liberty. Was there a stagecoach?
Might have been a wheelbarrow.
All right,
Oh,
hang on.
definitely a
wheelbarrow.
wheelbarrow.
Yeah,
Definitely
yeah,
a
yeah.
wheelbarrow.
No, the original pieces.
Monopoly
Yeah, that new
pieces.
Monopoly is like the New Testament. I'm out.
And they've got monopolies for all
All right.
different
Yeah,
things.
I'm
like,
I'm looking at them right now.
I was down in
We got-
Monterey, and they had the Monterey Aquarium Monopoly. It's like
What?
$80.
We got two
crazy.
different. Okay, we got a shoe.
Well, hold on.
sure.
Have we missed anything? Because
No,
we missed the
there's-
boot.
we can have a contest.
Well, no,
I love
actually,
those.
this is
I
not
know you
all
love
of them.
it.
This is not all of them because I don't see the dog. I see a boat. There's a ship.
Yeah.
There's a
on, a boat.
It's like
there's
the
like
Titanic
a wheel,
with three.
like a wheelbarrow,
Wheelbarrow. Yep.
an iron,
Sure.
Shout out
a
Gail.
top hat.
Oh,
the
we forgot the
top
top
hat.
A
hat.
shoe
top hat.
and a thimble, but like,
A
where's
shoe
the
and a
dog? Where's the race car?
Yeah.
Where are they?
Second
What are we
version.
doing?
Yeah.
Look
Man.
At, look at the puzzlement on
Wow.
Grandy
and
and Evan.
They're
the
like, they don't
youngsters.
even know what we're talking
They have
about.
no clue.
We're
They're-
in Pig Latin right
They're
now.
looking at all of
Of
us.
course I
they're
know
like,
Monopoly.
No, they're
Oh.
looking at all of us like, you guys must have been alive when the Niners won a Super Bowl. Oh my God.
You know the digital monopoly, right? You don't. Do you know what a dice?
no.
Do you know what dice are?
What's that? Can you explain it to me?
Just okay. Do you know what a spinner is? Like on Life, the game of Life.
No, maybe bring one in tomorrow.
Do you ever play the game of Life?
Yes, of
Shoots
course.
and ladders.
Have you ever eaten life
It's
cereal?
impressive. You're an old
Yeah.
soul.
He is an old soul.
Nah, he
that's
got good, Grandy.
that's where this
that's a
bit doesn't
compliment.
work because he's 27 going on to 80
Get Evan in
That's
here.
true. That's
He's
true.
naive.
Lucas has no clue what we're talking about. That's what he has no
Well,
idea.
he's not only young, he went to USC, so he's totally
There you go.
clueless.
Double
Dibs,
dumb.
can you help me real quick before we get out of here?
Now take your time.
If-
you can stay.
I got a Vine with Evan and Steiny and Spadoni. I got 10 calls about how boring the NBA finals were. That's why we appreciate good games and series and chips when we see them, right? That's why we can spend hours going down the YouTube rabbit hole of great games, the catch. Every championship is not going to be a ride at Great America. And I'm just tired of people not being short-sighted saying, I got clarity. I watched the finals to see who the better team was going to be. It was Boston. That's enough for me. Can you just help me with the repellent on all these? It wasn't 140 to 139.
Right.
It didn't go down to the last. That's not real life.
No, it's not. And the majority of these finals are more like this than they are what we dream about them being. And my two big takeaways from the series were, well, obviously twofold because there was two of them. One, Kyrie Irving continuing to rehab his image, the way he stayed on the court and greeted everyone coming off the floor. I think the way he comported himself, he didn't go the Luka route and pout and throw up the Iguodala hands and all the rest of it. Kyrie Irving, I think, did a lot to work his way back toward appreciation from the mainstream. The other takeaway was Boston missed out on a chance to be a dynasty by not putting the pillow over the Warriors' face 2 years ago. Because now they'd have 2 and 3, and they'd be looking next year at 3 and 4, and they'd be poised to do something really special. But even now, if they win next year, Steiny, and you win 2 in a row, big fish dinner. You're not going to be one of the really elite teams of an era, and it's because they let the Warriors off the hook.
You're not wrong. I also get, Stephen A. did this already a week ago. I get really annoyed when the word dynasty comes up when somebody wins their first. It's like, this is
my
not
point
even,
is that this would have been their second. This would have been 2 and 3.
Your point is well taken. I'm talking in a more broad sense because we did hear it last year with Denver, and now we're hearing it with Boston, and we'll hear it with whoever the hell wins it next year.
Yeah.
Because this is what we do, and it's like, it's not time for that conversation yet. It's just not time. You got to at least win 2 before we can have this conversation.
Right.
You have to at least win 2.
And I think the other piece of it, Steiny, is that they going to be in a spot now with Tatum expecting to get the max, and so you got Brown on the max and Tatum on the max, and Porzingis makes a ton, and Derek White wants his come up.
Porzingis is expendable.
They can definitely keep it together for one more. I mean, they can keep it together because their guys are their guys, but eventually they'll run into the same thing that the Warriors are running into with their payroll. But Goo, so you're really excited. I mean, you rewatch everything, so this you ought to be. You're spending your night tonight rewatching Game 5.
The broadcast, and I love all 3 of them. The commentators were not up to snuff.
Oh, no.
The rapport was not there.
Oh, so it stunk.
I cannot
The
go
final
to sleep
stunk.
to the Doris, Bream, and JJ Redick. Congrats on your new job like I could. Van Gundy, Bream,
go to sleep
and Mark
on 'em.
Jackson. So I was let down from that vantage point. I'm a nerd when it comes to. They just didn't have it. They were trying. It just didn't work. And now I'm excited that they got to find a replacement for JJ.
I wonder if. By the way, I'm not going down that. I'm not getting trapped again thinking JJ Redick is the coach of the Lakers until he's the coach of the Lakers.
Had it.
Maybe. How many times have the Lakers been on the verge of hiring a coach in the last 6 weeks?
You kept saying it's an official.
They're embarrassed. That's
You think so?
I would hope so. The Lakers should be embarrassed that it's actually gone this way. I mean, think about what the Los Angeles Lakers just went on a journey where it was going to be one guy, then Woj outbombs somebody else.
Hooking his boy
up. Then a college coach goes through a whole situation where it feels like we're walking up a staircase to the podium for the big reveal. And he gets there and goes, I don't want your job. I'm staying in college. And the Lakers are sitting there going, all right, what's next? That's embarrassing. The Lakers. That's embarrassing.
Wow.
To them.
There was a novel that could be written about what was happening behind the scenes.
No doubt.
I mean, it
was so clunky. It still is.
Woj hooked up his boy Hurley, right?
I guess. Whatever happened, the fact that this was all out there for public consumption all day, every day is a joke, and it still is.
Well, bottom line is Hurley realizes what that situation would have been, which is LeBron James is a coach killer.
Yeah, but for 1 year. He wasn't going to get fired after 1 year.
He wouldn't have got on the airplane. He knew that, Dibs.
And if he did, by the way, here's something.
LeBron's on coach number 10.
Right, but the guys who've been through that, it's not hurt their career.
Oh, man.
Vogel
Darvin Ham?
No, but his name is twice the value of what it used to be.
Oh, man.
Vogel got another job.
Yeah, and then lost that job.
But that's his own fault. Mike Brown was coached both LeBron
If you're
and the
Hurley
Lakers.
and you're a rah-rah guy, you want a young team that you can get 3 to 5 years in Billy Donovan
Maybe,
like he did in OKC.
But you may have that a year from now.
What Mark and I realize, and Mark because he's from the area,
Trying
and
to
me
draft
because
on Willard, I love it.
because I know what's going on in front offices.
reading.
It's not just it's Kurt Rambis and his wife,
Linda,
behind the scenes that are making things. That's weird. What's going on? Who's in charge? On 95.7. The game.
Yeah, there we go. You have a name.